So you are currently looking at the homepage of World's Fairs, Global History of Expositions, recently published. What is this resource about? Well, it showcases a diverse range of primary source materials, provide a 360 view of the world's fairs, from their origination and planning, the experience of visiting them, the physical, cultural, political legacies that they left behind as well. That's all examined through the primary source materials. The sources themselves cover more than 2 centuries of history. The date range is 1829 to 2015, although the core of the material is from the first Great Exhibition in 1851 in London through to 1967. In total, there's material from over 200 different fairs worldwide, including the Great Exhibition, as I mentioned, American fairs of the 19th and 20th centuries, and 21st century expositions. A lot of East Asian fairs crop up through the 21st century. So we've collated material from archives around the world, creating a collection that delivers a rounded history of world fairs. The material types themselves include ephemeral, souvenir artifacts, personal reflections collected by fairgoers. There's also official records, correspondence from the organizing committees, there's guidebooks, official catalogues. There really is such a wealth and variety of documents for you to get to grips with within this database. There's also some wonderful audio history collections that we've included. So overall, this is a really useful resource for students, teachers, researchers involved in a huge number of subjects. It's very interdisciplinary. It's going to be appealing to those working within imperialism, race relations, gender studies, science and technology, consumer culture, architecture and design as well. So as I mentioned, you're looking at the homepage of this database interface. At the top, you can see a navigational bar which will take you through to some of the key areas within the database itself. We have introductory pages. You can actually search for specific fairs. You can look across document types. In the Explore section, we have a number of additional features which support study of the primary sources and give some context to them. There's a wonderful image gallery and help sections as well with advice for teaching. So first of all, I'm going to take you through to the introductory pages. And here you can see a number of different tabs. So you have the nature and scope, which provides more information about the selection criteria and what we've included within the database, and a number of other pages which I'll dip into in a moment. But first of all, let's go into the nature and scope. So this explains really much of what I've already covered so far in terms of what we've selected, the scope in terms of the interdisciplinary subjects, and case studies as well. So there are 9 core fairs that we focused on within the collection, and these are 9 of the most significant fairs that took place through the history of expositions. And through the database, it offers an in-depth analysis and study of their impact and legacy. You can click on here to see the archives that we've actually worked with. A number of different archives that have actually together created a very well-rounded, thorough view of this area and of history. One of the notable archives that we've worked with is California State University in Fresno, which contributed a significant amount of material to this collection. We sourced material from the Donald G. Larson collection, and this is renowned as one of the largest comprehensive collections available on World's Fairs worldwide. And just so you can see some of the others that we've worked with, I'll scroll through them. The National Archives, Newberry Library in Chicago, New York Public Library. Take a tour. This is an area especially useful for those who are perhaps new to the database. It gives them an idea of how to navigate around and what they can expect to be able to achieve in different areas of the resource. So to know how to work with the documents, then there's some nice graphics, illustrations here which tell them how to do that. Our in-house editorial team, as they are working diligently through the material, have actually picked out some of their favorite documents. And again, this is an interesting way for perhaps undergraduates to get to grips with the material. They can take a document that they're interested in, learn a bit more about the historical context to it, and actually jump into the document itself through these hyperlinks. We've worked with an expert panel of consultant editors who advised us on topically what to include within this resource, and you can see those people listed here. They've also created and written for us essays that are included within the collection. Again, very useful contextual tools for students to perhaps enter the collection before getting to grips with the primary sources. So let's click on the Fairs tab here. I alluded to the fact that we've focused on 9 core fairs, although there are over 200 fairs represented in the resource. So these 9 fairs, we've digitized dedicated collections on them from archives. And the 9 fairs that are very well covered in the database are the 1851 Great Exhibition, 1876 Philadelphia Centennial International Exhibition, the Exposition Universelle in Paris in 1889, 1893 World Columbian Exposition in Chicago, 1904 Louisiana Purchase, 1915 Panama Pacific, the 33-34 Century of Progress Chicago Exhibition, 3940 New York World Fairs, and the Expo 67 in Montreal. And this is a nice way into the documents. So if we were interested in the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, for example, we can click here to right away explore the documents that we've digitized that relate to this fair. And you can see a list of them presented here. They're ordered alphabetically, although we can change the order to suit our needs. So we can, for example, click on the date filter to reorder these chronologically. And I'll do that now. If we know the title of the document we're looking for, we can click across the top and jump straight to that particular title. We can also change this metadata field on the far right if we are interested in understanding where the material was sourced from or which fair it relates to. Of course, we've chosen this particular fair. And as I scroll through, you can see that many of these documents were written prior to the fair occurring itself. Remember, this took place in 1893, but there's lots of material related to the organizing of it, the sort of political maneuvering, and actually the Chicago World's Fairs went all the way to Congress before it was decided that it would head to Chicago as opposed to New York. That's illustrated through this document, for example, arguments before the Committee of United States Senate. I'll just scroll down a little bit more so you can see some of the other document types and how varied they are. Here we have a nice souvenir program, and I'm clicking into the document now. A typical view of a document is presenting us with some rich metadata that our editorial team have pulled out, and you'll see a lot of this is hyperlinked. So if we were to click on any of these links, it will actually perform a full text search of that document by clicking on the link. We get some nice upfront information, as well as a number of different options from a functionality point of view. We can search within the document by keyword search. We can download the entire document or a page-ranged PDF for offline research. We can also cite and export to EndNote and RefWorks for inclusion within essays. And then My Archive is a very useful area both for researchers and teachers. So if we want to store a document, a particular page, or a search, we can do so by clicking on Add to My Archive. You'll need to register for this first, but it takes no more than a minute to do so. And you'll see the registration button in the top right-hand corner. I'm already logged into My Archive, so that's why that's not showing. But if we are interested in this document, for example, if we click Add to My Archive, We'll go into my archive in just a moment and I'll show you that the document has been saved. But if you want to get into the actual document itself and view the pages, click here in the thumbnails at the top. It takes us into the image viewer. As you can see, the scan quality is excellent. And there's a number of things that we can do in this page. So we can zoom in, which is especially useful if there's small inscriptions, untidy notes perhaps where documents have been annotated. You might have a map where it's very useful to rotate the document. You can toggle to full page just to get the best view for you. You can view thumbnails of the document as well, skip through the pages here, jump to a particular document. You can still search within it. And then add to my lightbox. My lightbox is really part of my archive, and the lightbox is where you save individual pages. So we'll save that page. And let's skip through a couple of pages so you can see a little more of this document. Much of the material in World's Fairs is extremely visual, and that really comes through in this document, for example. Here we have a view of the layout of the buildings included within the Chicago World's Fairs. Okay, let's jump into my archive. It looks like this, so it saves our document down, and now they'll be there weeks, months later if you want to come back to the database login, and it saves you the hassle of having to research for things and find them again. If we'd run a search, it would appear here, and then the page that we saved should show up in my lightbox here. And in this area, we can actually create new folders to help organize our files. And I very much recommend sharing this with students if you're in a position to do so, or recommend it to faculty if you do have access to this resource, that they use this area because it's extremely useful. Just going back to the Fairs section for the time being. We have a fair search directory. So the way I showed you before was exploring a particular fair, but if we're interested and we know that we want to explore several fairs, then we can do so through the fair search directory. We simply select our fairs like so, and we can change our selection by getting rid of this one, for example, and bringing in another. We can clear the whole selection and start over. But let's suppose that these are the fairs that we're interested in. We can click search. And that's going to pull back all the material that we've digitized related to those fairs. Again, it's a similar view from the search results that you saw a moment ago. And you can see listed here on the right-hand column different fairs actually that the material has been sourced from. It's bringing back those that we've selected. And then the third way to browse is through the Documents tab, and especially useful if you are not interested in a specific fair essentially, but you want to be able to bring back information from a variety of different types. So you might be interested in a specific document type or a number of different documents. You can select multiple documents here and click Apply. I'll just leave that up again for a moment so you can see the different document types included in the database, and it's ranging greatly from correspondence to meeting minutes, official records, programs. As I mentioned before, you can actually refine by a particular fair. You can search by any of these countries which are well represented in the material, or from a specific archive or a selection of archives. Okay, so that's document browsing. The advanced search. There are three ways to search really in this database. There's a keyword search box, popular search list that our editorial team have put together, and the advanced search. I'm going to go into the advanced search. So this supports Boolean search functionality. You can see here these are live searches, information on the most popular searches that our users worldwide are actually searching for. It's saving previous searches that you've run as well, which is quite useful. But let's suppose that we're interested in the experience of transport that took place in the fairs for visitors. How did they actually get around the fairs, get to them, get around? For transport and visitor, this is one of the more complicated searches. So what I'm asking the database to do here is to search for transport and visitor in the full text of the documents where they appear within 30 words of one another. Now I could apply more filters as well. I could use a date filter, refine it by document type, the fair, and the countries. But I'm going to leave it like this for the time being and click search. And whilst there are thousands of documents in this database, this is going to bring back 33, which is a great amount for us as a researcher. It's more manageable to deal with. And it's ordering the documents in terms of relevance, so where the search terms appear most frequently or in the title of the document itself, it will appear towards the top of this list. So I recommend working with the list as it's presented to you, but you can further refine it by these filters here. But let's nip into this document here. So what it's indicating to us with the red box is that that page contains our search term in it, as well as this image snippet down here. So it's directly leading us to where the search term appears. The metadata we can expand out as such, and if the search term appears within the metadata, it too would be highlighted. So we know that the search term appears here. I'm going to click on this image snippet. And this is a nice color illustration map of the fairgrounds. And it's telling us that visitors were able to get around by Greyhound train at this particular fair. If we were interested in comparing this to other sources, we could go back to our search results list and work our way through them, glancing at the titles for reference. I mentioned the popular searches. These are especially useful perhaps if you're coming to the database and you're not sure what you're looking for, especially you need some inspiration, you need some ideas. Well, these are keywords, products, and names that appear frequently within the material. And for example, if we were to click on Walt Disney attended many of the fairs to get inspiration, and he exhibited at the 1964 New York's World's Fair as well. And our search, you see it has searched across the different variations of Disney's name to bring back documents where Disney appears in the full text of the material. We can click on the document again, and you can see there's lots of hits here. This is a document called Ride Walt Disney's Magic Skyway, illustration showing the things to see on the Magic Skyway ride at the Ford exhibition, I believe. Looks like quite an interesting ride. Plenty of material on Disney in the material. And let's add that to our archive as well. Okay, so we have an image gallery also, and this is where we've housed all of the visual material as we've been working through the documents. We have visual highlights here, which are thematic galleries, and you can go into any one of these key exhibitions to see nice visual illustrations, photos related to those fairs. So we have a 360 object gallery, which gives a 360 perspective on objects that we've digitized. And this is especially useful where there are inscriptions that you wouldn't be able to see ordinarily through just a still image. So if we select the souvenir Liberty Bell, what we can actually do is spin this around to read all of the message there. Perhaps an interesting way to show the documents from the resource and the images in perhaps the teaching environment. And you can also view the still objects of that. So in the Explore section, we have a lot of additional features. We've got the essays that have been written by the editorial board. I showed you a list of names earlier, and you can see that they've written thorough essays covering why are World's Fairs worth remembering, the architectural legacy of the World's Fairs. If you're interested in the gendered perspective of it, then you can read the essay here by Tracy. And each of the essays are very comprehensive. Quite often they link to material within the collection as well, as such. And again, these can be cited, downloaded, printed. We have some wonderful sound recordings. There's two collections we've worked with, one from the New York Public Library and the other from Missouri History Museum. And the Missouri one covered the Louisiana Purchase Exposition. We click into view the collection. See them all listed here. I'm going to attempt to play one. You may not be able to hear this very well. I'll turn up the volume a bit. So you can see that the transcript is actually moving through in sync with the audio, which is a very cool feature. And we can actually jump to various parts of the audio for it to pick up again. We can actually search within the transcript as well if we are interested in the exhibits. Here the commentator is talking about the glorious exhibit buildings that were erected at this particular fair. And we can pick up again with the audio at that point. And we can create a personalized clip as well from that point, which we can then save into your My Archive. And you can see the search term indicated down here. So from a functionality point of view, it's very easy and useful to work with these audio collections and very fascinating, of course. As well as that, there's interactive site plans as well. So I mentioned that this is a useful database for students, scholars of design and architecture. Well, we've digitized, we've used the digitized layouts of the various fairs. There are 5 of them that we've included. Again, if we take Chicago as the example, and we click into it, we can actually see a number of objects that we've digitized and where they were located at the fair. And we can either use the map to get to them or this left-hand navigation. The California building, if we hover over that, it's highlighted in orange, and then we can click into that to get a nice photo of what it looked like. So it's very visual. We can zoom into the map to get much closer to the detail and understand the layout through the images as well. So again, and perhaps a useful tool to use within the classroom to engage students. And you find out information about the map here, clicking on the eye. So as well as that, there's some pages on the key exhibits. So aeronautics and the development of aeronautics through the different fairs is explained in this section. How entertainment forms such a large part of these fairs and expositions is described here, and there's some sample documents for students to get engaged with. There are biographies of prominent individuals who were important in the histories of world fairs, and many of whom feature and are referenced in the material in the collection. And then some external links to other sites outside of this database which could be useful to further study in this area. Finally, I just want to draw your attention to the help section. So in this area, there's a page-by-page guide. If you are perhaps stuck and you need some some guidance. Hopefully that shouldn't happen because it's a very intuitive database. If that were to happen, then you can go to this page and see some images and guidance on how to use My Archive, for example. And equally, the teaching page, this resource is compatible with integration into all VLEs such as Blackboard, Moodle, Carmen. So we actively encourage that, and there's some screenshots here of how that can be done.